Hey guys, you'll be so proud of me. I got a microphone on, so I'm not going to mess up the audio in any more videos. I actually just tested it, and it's only a little $10 microphone that you can plug into your iPhone or whatever, and it works pretty good. So yeah, as long as you can hear me, I don't really care how perfect the video is or anything, but the audio is important because it's a message I have to deliver. It's so hard for me because as a mom, like 2 of my kids are outside right now. 2 of my kids are inside. So I was like, okay, do I go out to the truck to make the video? But then they'll interrupt me out there. Do I stay in here? And I'm watching the other 2 playing the sandbox through the window. I like to sit in the window because the lighting is like perfect. But anyways, like I have to like be strategic in the way I am able to come on here and give you guys content. Like that's why I don't do lives and stuff, which I wish I could, because when I'm connected, I'd much rather you just ask me questions or bring up topics right on the spot, because that's the best way to connect. It's just in the moment. It flows out. It's organic. It's not like thought out and worried about the way I deliver it so somebody perceives it. No, it's just organic. Like if you try to be too perfect, and I had to learn this lesson, so it's coming from somebody with experience. If you try to be perfect with everything, like that's not being in the moment. It's not organic. It's very forced. It's like, I care what people think about me, so I'm gonna, you know what I mean? I'm not judging anyone who does like all the work. You can make such an art out of making videos, but you just have to recognize when that's what the energy is versus you're being creative, right? For me, I don't have a burning desire to get creative with my videos and learn a bunch of editing. It's just like, I'd rather go paint and draw and play with my kids and be in the garden and bake. Like that's the kind of stuff I love to do. And it doesn't surprise me because just like my last videos, like I have to bring in that divine feminine energy. So that's what feels good when I bring it in. It's like that balance with the masculine energy and the feminine energy. And I'm like, ooh, so like the funny thing is I went from being like an athlete, like getting my degrees and all that stuff and being the overachiever. I want to keep bringing this up because it's an important point. I went from that to feeling so fulfilled by being a domestic housewife. Not technically a wife because I'm not married, but you know what I mean? Like stepping into those nurturing feminine roles, being in nature. That is so, like, connecting with nature will balance you regardless of what direction you teeter in terms of your energy, divine masculine or divine feminine. So it's just funny. It's just funny how the universe works and the way you plan your life and the things that you choose. Like, I didn't know back when I was choosing to have my kids, back when I was choosing to go through hard things, that I didn't know I was choosing it. I thought that life was happening to me and not for me. And now I know different. And so when you know different, you just look at life in a whole new way. You operate in a whole new way. You see your own stuff. So then you're able to be like, okay, is this divine? Is this situation serving me? Like, that's one thing, and I've mentioned this before too, is like, if I'm not sure about a situation, like anything like that, like exchanging energy, like with friends or family, or like maybe consuming something in my body or watching something on TV, I always ask this question: is this divine? And you immediately know the answer. I don't know why that question is just so powerful, but inside of you, you can feel what the right answer is for you. And so like use that little trick. Like I love using that trick because it's like, okay, if I'm deciding like whether I want to go see family and I say, is this divine? I'll think about that person. I'll think about how I'm feeling at the time. I'll think about how bringing my kids plays into it. I'll think about the timing of everything. How does the energy feel, right? And sometimes, even if you think somebody is deep in programming, like family member or something, but you go to see them anyways, you don't realize that maybe that uncomfortable energy or that contrast is a gift for you. But sometimes it's just energy sucking and leech-like for you. So like, if you don't feel into it, how will you know? Well, you'll figure it out once you're in the situation, like, and then it's too late. So like using your intuition is crucial. And even if you like make a decision that puts you in an uncomfortable situation, that's still a gift. you still are like, okay, I'm thrown into this contrast, but I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to learn that I need to protect my energy before I go out into public or visit people or whatever it is. Like we're always learning. In every moment we're learning. And like, I do this thing too, where I'll just look into the mirror, into my own eyes, and be like, I notice everything. I affirm that all the time. I'll just be in the bathroom and I'll just walk by the mirror and I'll think about it. I'll look at myself and I'll like, oh, look into the mirror right now and affirm that. And I look at myself when I say it. I notice everything. That is so powerful, because that's all it is. That's what conscious developing and growing is noticing more things. Think about it. When you raise your vibration and all of a sudden the veil's lifting even more, and now you can see, maybe you can see beings, or you can, whatever, you're noticing more when you develop your senses. Like when you're clairaudient, you're hearing more, you're noticing more with your ears, you're noticing more with your different senses. So, yeah. So when you say you notice everything, noticing is more than just a thought perception. It's a visual perception. It's using all your senses. That's why when you go into a meditation and you use all your senses, like you really get into that energy. You can really astral project. You can create and manifest and go into different like past lives and stuff. And get deep into it, because you can smell that pie that's baking in the oven in your past life, and you used to live in this cabin. Like, that's what happened when I did my regression. I was like, whoa, I can almost like smell things in this regression. I can almost like feel the energy, listen, like what kind of music would be playing. Like your imagination is what teleports you into different places that you already are, because everything's happened at the same time, even in your past lives. So like once you start to realize, like, that's why the school system is killing our kids, because they're just bashing them down into being the same person instead of showing them to use their imagination and dive deep into who they really are and what they really think and what's inside of them. And you can't really figure out what you love to do unless you do that. So like everybody's just running around lost, because since birth we're programmed to be a certain way. It's like factory farm schools, where you go to school, you're trained to get up early, you're trained to go to this building and do what you have to do for 8 hours and then go home. School is such a prep for you to be in the slave system of 9 to 5 and all that. And so when you get out of that and you start getting creative, then all of a sudden, like, you wouldn't be able to operate in those kind of circumstances, because it's not free. Free is being an entrepreneur. Free is figuring out what your passion is and how can I monetize this. Even if you love to draw, you could create a YouTube channel on showing people, teaching people how to draw, or sharing your gift, or selling your gift. Like, there's so many things. You could literally write an ebook on how to draw silhouettes. I don't know. I'm just pulling this stuff out because I'm telling you right now, there's no passion you can't monetize. And once you figure out who you really are, you realize how many passions you really have and how many things you've been freaking amazing at in past lives. And you could just pull from those past lives and pull from the future self. And that's all I am doing right now, is channeling an aspect of my future self who's connected to this information. Because all the information is in here. It's in you. It's in me. It's there. But you have to learn how to connect to it. And in order to get closer and reveal and strip more peels of the onion off and pull the veil down, the more you're able to tap into those things and activate that dormant DNA that allows you to access those gifts, to access, your psychic abilities, your gifts, to feel more, to feel into life more, to love life. I just have to breathe for a second, because sometimes when things come out, it's just like I can't take a freaking breath. So yeah, and it was funny. I'm just gonna share this. I have it on the paper right here in front of me. But Spirit showed me. I don't know if you guys have heard of this if you're not from the US, but on MTV in the 90s, they had this cartoon. I'm pretty sure it was on MTV. It was called Daria, and it was this this girl who was like a teenager, and she was like the gothy type who was very intelligent and just like standoffish towards everyone, and just kind of like did her own thing, very introverted, but kind of woke, you know, like she kind of like dug deep, right? And I liked it because it was like, she was like witty. Like I shared a lot in common, but stayed to herself and stuff. The only thing I didn't share in common was I wasn't like gothy and I was and stuff like that. I cared more what people think. You know, she didn't care what people think and all that. But at the same time, Spirit was like, think about that character. Like she's in her own space. She's really getting to know herself, but she hasn't really integrated the knowledge because she hasn't tapped into that spiritual side because she's closed off from everyone else. And it was just a message for me, like when you close yourself off to the rest of the world, and whoever else need to hear the message, if you close yourself off to the rest of the world, you are avoiding facing your shadows, because that's how we're here to learn how to live in the 3D from a higher vibrational space. So when you learn all of these things, you have to actually integrate them in your life and interact with the world. That's what's grounding all this new consciousness that you come into. Being in the world, doing things, not sitting in front of a TV, not shying away from the rest of the world and not interacting. I'm not saying you can't be a monk and go do it, but I'm telling you right now, like to really grow, you have to dive into life in this 3D reality we chose to come into and face shit. And if you live life and you interact with life, you can face shit. But in a way, like that cartoon character, she avoided it. She was like, I'm not dealing with people. Like, look how unconscious they are. I'm not going to deal with the stupid shit. You know what I mean? And I totally resonated with that. But it was also a reality check for me in the fact that, but you're avoiding, it's avoidance. You know what I mean? So, she's awake, but she's guarded. She's missing the spiritual aspect of things. And a lot of times, light workers can do that because for so long we felt like we haven't been able to really fit in. So we put ourselves off in the corner and hide instead of sharing our gifts, instead of facing our shadows, instead of interacting in those situations that give us anxiety and figuring out a way to perceive it in a different way, to address the situation in a different way, to come at it from a different angle, to look at people and not see the worst things, but see the best things. And then when you start looking at people in that way, you see where their pain is. You see when they project things out that feel like low vibrational energy, that's pain expressing itself. And then once you get to a certain point where you've healed yourself enough, you're able to help others heal, which is like exactly what I'm doing. That's why it's so important for us to be vulnerable and open to share our stories. A lot of times people don't want to share their stories. I'm not saying some things can't be private, but when you share your story, you give others permission to open up and do the same. It's okay. I'm a real person. I'm not someone out here claiming to be enlightened and perfect. And if I was, it would be because I have this energetic block to what others think of me because I'm filtering who I really am instead of being organic and genuine. So yeah, it's more like when you come on and you want to share your experiences, there's this fine line between like pouring out a bunch of drama onto people or sharing a testimony like of your growth, which is like the whole point of going through these experiences, overcoming them. The hero's journey, the hero's journey has been around since ancient times. I just heard Gigi Young talking about that in her video. It was about Alice in Wonderland and like she makes a ton of esoteric videos and she goes deep, and I really love her channel. So if you want to follow her, she's underneath this video on my list of YouTubers. But yeah, where was I going with that? I can't even remember. But the point of the matter is that a lot of people, they're so stuck in their story that they're not rewriting their life story. They're still stuck in the past. Like they're still telling the same old stories. But when you go through the stuff and then you start choosing a different perspective and rewriting your story and telling a different story, then that's when you're ready to give to others and share your testimony of growth. Otherwise, you're just spewing your issues out on other people. which is like why there's this weird fine line. Like, you don't want to be, I get why people don't want to share their stuff, because like, how do you deliver it in a way where it's a testimony of growth and it's not you still not facing your own shadows? And how do you discern that? Because if you haven't faced your shadow, you might not be aware of it yet. Because the first step in facing it is being aware of it, seeing your own shit, like I say all the time. But yeah, there's one more thing I wanted to recommend, and I usually do not recommend like TV shows or movies, or because I try to not, I don't even have time to watch them half the time. But there's a show for all you twin flame lovers out there that even if you're not into twin flame stuff, you're just like into spiritual stuff and you're watching my videos, there is a show on Netflix that my sister-in-law introduced me to, and I said, I'll try it out, because usually I'll try out a video and then or a movie or a show, and I won't end up following through with it. My kids are coming, so I'll recommend it real quick and then I'll get off. It's called Outlander, and the woman's a time traveler. I'm also into history, so that might be why I like it, but it's very like, she goes back in time and she's still herself. And then she tries to change how the future might turn out and stop like a battle from happening, all that kind of stuff. And it's actually really interesting and has these esoteric vibes, but it's also a beautiful love story. I'm telling you right now, it even challenges the Notebook in terms of like amazing love story. Like, it's good. Me and Lance watch it together, but it's kind of, I will warn you, it's a little sexually explicit. So if you're and it has a little bit of violence, but not too bad, because trust me, I'm an empath. If it was really, really bad, I wouldn't be able to watch it. And sometimes I just, put the pillow over my face or cover my eyes, because I just can't engage with certain energies. But anyways, I wanted to share that with you guys. For some reason, Spirit was like, share that movie, because or it's not a movie, it's actually a show on Netflix. I think there's like 4 or 5 seasons now. I'm definitely not through it all, because I gradually watch things. I can't like binge watch things. There's not enough time in the day to do what I need to do, period, let alone to binge watch. Plus, can't watch it with the kids around, because not exactly appropriate. So it's something I literally watch it with the door locked, because I'm afraid my kids will see the sex scenes. Like, when you can become a parent, you want to like, part of you wants to put your kid in a bubble, but obviously you wouldn't want your kid to see that. But like, and that's one thing I'll say too, like, the Matrix is so inverted that it has normalized like extreme promiscuity and just hypersexualized everything. It's even infiltrated a lot of the spiritual movement, and you can see it. But once you have kids and you really feel into it and you're in a certain space, you know how much that is not okay to bring them out of their purity too soon. And my kids are actually knocking at the door right now. So it's important to protect them and let them experience life, but in a healthy way. You know what I mean? So I'll talk about that a different day. I'll talk about parenting and stuff. But I love you guys, and I hope you have an awesome day.